In Washington, D.C., Frank Underwood fixes a leaky sink at home. He then meets with Remy Danton and tasks him with preventing Raymond Tusk's appointment as vice president, suggesting leveraging a competitor to Tusk's company, SanCorp. Meanwhile, Claire Underwood deals with a legal challenge involving a pregnant employee and potential environmental damage related to her company. Journalists Lucas Goodwin and Zoe Barnes investigate a police report and find a potentially relevant connection involving a man named Peter, with Zoe leveraging their past relationship to gain access to Lucas's law enforcement contacts. Their conversation reveals the pair had an intimate relationship which ended badly. Frank and Remy then meet with President Walker to discuss Tusk. Frank subtly pressures Walker by implying that Remy's support is contingent on Tusk not threatening SanCorp's interests. Later, Zoe and Lucas continue to investigate Peter, uncovering a charge of prostitution against him from 2012. Frank meets with a representative from SanCorp in Atlanta, where they discuss the potential negative publicity from a congressional report released on the same day as the meeting with investors. Back home, Frank finds Claire asleep and comforts her after a nightmare. Underwood, suspicious of Tusk's vice presidential ambitions, pressures Remy to investigate Raymond Cunningham's knowledge of the situation, feeling exploited by their arrangement. Remy, caught between Underwood and SanCorp, expresses his concerns about his precarious position. Meanwhile, Claire prepares for a deposition related to a lawsuit where a former employee threatens to expose the company's environmental impact. Zoe and Lucas follow a lead in their search for Rachel, a sex worker connected to a past case, by visiting a school. They learn she may have contacted the local prosecutor's office due to family issues. Back at the White House, Underwood learns Tusk is arriving early for a private dinner with President Walker, and Underwood attempts to arrange a meeting with Tusk beforehand through Nancy, but she refuses, citing the president's request. Speaker of the House Bob Birch, another potential VP candidate, arrives to meet with Walker, but Walker, fearing the appearance of impropriety, cancels the meeting after a leak from his planning office. Underwood, in a church, has a monologue seemingly directed at the deceased Peter Russo, expressing his internal struggles. Claire and Evelyn Baxter rehearse their statements regarding the company's environmental practices and Evelyn's pregnancy. Later, Claire meets Lucas and relays that Birch and Tusk were due to arrive at the White House. Remy informs President Walker that his polling numbers are declining due to negative press involving him and the First Lady, and Walker is displeased by the incident involving the social worker. The segment concludes with Remy calling Underwood with urgent news. Remy's unexplained absence worries Frank. Meanwhile, Lucas, accompanied by Zoe, searches for Rachel at a restaurant where he suspects she works. Zoe confirms Rachel's employment and then confronts her, identifying herself and subtly threatening to expose information related to Peter Russo. Zoe's relentless pressure on Rachel in the rain is interrupted when Doug Stamper picks Rachel up in a car. Later that night, inside the car, Rachel voices concerns about mentioning Frank and Doug to Zoe, and Doug reassures her. Simultaneously, Frank learns that Doug had to leave early. Frank then meets with Tusk, who reveals Remy informed him about SanCorp, prompting Frank to propose a deal. Meanwhile, Zoe and Lucas appear to be strategizing about Peter Russo, leading to a separate tense confrontation between Frank and Doug in a car. Doug announces he has informed the press that no impropriety has been uncovered in Russo's death. Frank, Doug, President Walker, and Remy later convene in a meeting. Tusk's advice to Walker to ignore the news ignites an argument, which Frank diffuses. Frank meets with Mitch to ensure the continued care and security of his people. Finally, back home, Frank receives congratulations from Claire. Zoe uncovers information about Peter's past and its connection to Raymond Tusk being blocked from a position. Back at their home, Claire informs Frank about Zoe's discoveries, specifically how they relate to Peter and Tusk's missed opportunity. Frank remains unfazed by this news. Later, Frank and Claire prepare for a late-night run within the confines of their property, observed by Frank's bodyguard. As they run, Doug's phone illuminates with an incoming call.